Number 3 on our agenda is the matter of Wynn and Boston in the proposed agreement that was reported last week. It's a surrounding community agreement that modifies 2 license conditions that we imposed when we made the decision of Region A. So I'm going to turn it over to Council Blue or Council Mackey to introduce the topic.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is David Mackey. To my left is Steve Anderson. We're from the firm Anderson and Krieger. We were privileged to have been appointed Special Assistant Attorneys General to represent the Commission in connection with litigation over the Region A licensing process. General Counsel Blue has asked me to summarize for you briefly this morning the history and some of the context behind the draft motion that's going to be presented to you later this morning regarding the agreement between Wynn and Boston. Very briefly, background on the Region A licensing process. Today's discussion concerns the resolution of issues that have been raised by the City of Boston concerning Wynn and Wynn's proposed Region A gaming establishment in Everett. In the spring of 2014, the Commission determined over Boston's vigorous objection that Boston was not a host community to the Wynn project, and instead that Boston was a surrounding community to the Wynn project. Some months later, in the summer of 2014, after Boston did not reach a surrounding community agreement with Wynn, and after Boston declined to participate in the surrounding community arbitration process under the Commission's regulations, the Commission concluded that Boston had waived its status as a surrounding community with respect to Wynn's application for a license. Then, following that determination in the fall of 2014, September 2014, the Commission awarded the conditional Region A license to Wynn, and in the absence of a surrounding community agreement between Wynn and Boston, the Commission put in the license that it had awarded a number of mitigation provisions regarding Boston, and these are in sections 3 and 4 of the conditional license that the Commission granted in September. And these include a host of issues: traffic mitigation, Sullivan Square infrastructure development, business development, jobs programs, financial benefits, and the like. Significantly for this morning's purposes, the license also provided that if at any time prior to the opening of the Wynn establishment, Wynn and Boston were able to successfully negotiate a surrounding community agreement, that they could do so, they could submit it to the Commission, and then the Commission could have the opportunity to determine whether any provisions of its conditional license that it issued back in September 2014 should be amended to incorporate provisions of the surrounding community agreement. So the license award took place in the fall of 2014. It contained these provisions relating to mitigation from Boston, and then there was a lot of litigation, including litigation brought by the City of Boston challenging really virtually every aspect of the Commission's licensing proceedings with respect to Region A. In particular, on January 5th, 2015, Boston filed suit against the Commission and the the commissioners acting in their official capacities, challenging, among other things, the Commission's decision that Boston was not a host community, challenging the Commission's decision that Boston had waived its surrounding community status, and challenging, of course, the Commission's award of the license to Wynn. The Commission moved to dismiss Boston's complaint on July 31st, and then 2 months ago, on December 3rd, 2015, the court granted the Commission's motion to dismiss, and then on December 8th, it entered final judgment dismissing in its entirety all of Boston's claims. Boston's 60-day deadline to appeal the court's dismissal of its claims is expiring within the next several days. Boston's also filed a separate MEPA environmental case against Wynn, and Wynn has filed its own lawsuit alleging defamation stemming from events that took place during the litigation. So we're here this morning because within the past week and pursuant to the terms of the license that I described, Boston and Wynn have now agreed on the terms of surrounding community agreement and want to resolve all of the litigation related to the licensing proceedings. So on January 27th, 2016, Wynn and Boston signed, and they've now submitted to the Commission a settlement agreement and release resolving the claims in the litigation, as well as a surrounding community agreement. And the surrounding community agreement is expressly conditioned on the Commission's approval to replace the provisions of the license that relate to mitigation for Boston with the terms of the surrounding community agreement. I'll very briefly describe for the Commission some of the provisions of the settlement agreement and release. I'm going to leave to representatives of Wynn and Boston to describe in detail and answer questions on the surrounding community agreement itself. But the settlement agreement provides that Boston will agree not to appeal the dismissal of all of its claims in the licensing action, that it provides that Boston will dismiss its pending MEPA case that's currently pending against Wynn, and significantly that Boston will not file a new lawsuit against Wynn or the Commission once the Commission issues its Section 61 findings at the conclusion of the environmental process. It agrees to do so as long, by the way, as those Section 61 findings are reasonably consistent with the environmental review process that's taken place to date. Boston has also agreed to release Wynn and the Commission and the Commissioners from any other claims relating to the licensing proceedings that could have been brought in the earlier lawsuit by Boston but have not yet been brought. In return, the settlement agreement also provides that Wynn is going to dismiss its defamation lawsuit stemming from the licensing proceedings, and that Wynn and the Commission and the Commissioners are going to release Boston from any claims that they have stemming out of the licensing proceedings or the lawsuit. So that, in a nutshell, brings us to today's draft motion, and the draft motion really contains 5 points for your consideration. Point 1 is determination by the Commission to reinstate Boston as a surrounding community. The second point is approve that the terms of the newly negotiated Boston-Wynn surrounding community agreement will replace Sections 3 and 4, the Boston mitigation provisions in the September 2014 license. Third, to expressly and clearly reserve the Commission's authority to impose additional conditions on the license when it issues its Section 61 findings. Fourth, to release to Boston a check currently being held by the Commission that was issued by Wynn to the city in the amount of $1 million. That was a upfront payment described in the initial license issued in September. And then lastly, to authorize the Commission's executive director or the Commission's general counsel to sign the settlement agreement and release on behalf of the Commission, which will have the effect of releasing Boston from any claims that the Commission could have brought against Boston stemming from the licensing proceedings or the litigation. So that concludes my presentation. As I said, we're asked Wynn and Boston to present the particulars of the surrounding community agreement, but I'm happy to take questions on other matters.
We may get to some questions. Director Bedrosian, did you want to say?
So, Commissioners, I'll just add a couple thoughts after listening to Council Mackey. This resolution, while the genesis was from litigation, is a little unique because it's a public resolution of public claims. And unlike a commercial litigation where the parties would resolve their differences and go their own ways. This is different. This is, I would suggest, more akin to a treaty. This will, in part, help define and clarify the relationships of the parties going forward, which the parties will continue to have. I think everyone understands that, but I just want to be clear, everyone's not taking their piece of the pie and going home. This is a new beginning with in part clarifying, helping to clarify our new relationships.
I think that's an excellent point, Director, and we'll hear from representatives from the city and Wynn in a minute. I want to open to commissioners any questions we may have for Mr. Mackey. That was an excellent summary, sir. Anybody have questions?
I have no questions.
Very clear. Thank you, Mr. Mackey.
I do have one, and this kind of release, in your opinion, is not atypical of public bodies like ours?
No, it's not atypical at all. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
No, I think Wynn and Boston have negotiated the surrounding community agreement, want to terminate all of the litigation between them. So the commission's getting a valuable promise by Boston that it's not going to appeal the dismissal of that case, and in return, we're committing not to institute litigation against Boston for any claim that the commission might have stemming out of the licensing process. So it really is, on the litigation front, complete peace among the parties.
Right, and you've reviewed it since it was executed, of course, last week?
Yes, we have.
Throughout up until today. Okay, thank you. Let me start with representatives from Wynn to offer a presentation or comments.
Good morning, Commissioners. My
Morning.
name is Jackie Crum from Wynn Resorts.
Good morning.
I'm very pleased to be here to present our surrounding community agreement for your consideration. First, I want to express our appreciation to the Commission for your foresight in including in our license conditions a provision enabling us to negotiate a surrounding community agreement with the City of Boston, and for your encouragement in doing so. It has been a long and sometimes difficult road for all of us, but we've remained committed to the project and are working on the engagement of 4,000 construction workers as we sit here today. As Mr. Mackey described, the majority of the surrounding community agreement contains the terms from our license conditions. The one exception is the elimination of the traffic reduction incentive payment. As you are aware, the circumstances since we were awarded the license have changed over the last 2 years. First, as a result of our MEPA filings, Secretary Pollock has formed a regional working group to study the long-standing traffic issues in the Sullivan Square, Rutherford Avenue area. We have committed $250,000 to fund this group, which is tasked with studying the area, taking into account all new developments impacting the region, developing, implementing, and financing a long-term solution. In addition to mitigating the impacts of our traffic, estimated to cost approximately $11 million prior to opening, we have committed to an additional $25 million for the implementation of the long-term plan. No other private developer has committed any funds for this purpose. Also, the recent package of the Federal Transportation Funding Bill, in conjunction with the $25 million that we have committed, could be used for the implementation of the long-term solution. However, the most important component of the implementation of this long-term solution is cooperation. We see this agreement and the commitments made by us and the city as a critical step towards making this a reality soon. Second, over the past several months, we have had many productive meetings with the Boston Transportation Department. We have one scheduled for tomorrow as well. They have analyzed our traffic models and proposed mitigation and provided valuable input. It has been a collaborative process, and we will continue to engage with the city throughout this permitting process. Our goal has always been to make the traffic work. It is critical to our business and our relationship with the community. We never anticipated making the traffic reduction incentive payment because we plan to implement a robust transportation demand management program, which will encourage alternate forms of transportation. With that in mind, we felt it was more important to commit to the certainty of an additional $6 million and to move the long-term solution forward rather than a speculative $20 million. And of course, we are still responsible if our traffic solutions fall short. We have commitments to MEPA, to you, the City of Everett, and now the City of Boston to monitor, report back, and address any deficiencies. We are anxious to move this project forward. Every day that this project does not move forward costs the Commonwealth significant tax revenue. We've estimated over $660 million annually. We appreciate your consideration of the surrounding community agreement proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Crum. Questions for Ms. Crum on this presentation?
I have no questions.
No, I just have a comment. Certainly, we have worked hard to be deferential to cities and licensees. We think that's the role we should play. Obviously, we monitor and make sure everyone in the Commonwealth is getting a fair shake. You know, that is an awful lot of money, and we will be watching, of course, and our staff tells us that the meetings have been productive with the working group, and everyone seems to share the same goal of making sure traffic works efficiently for the entire region, for the city. So at this point, I'm willing to show that deference to the city and to the licensee and approve this part of the deal.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron.
Jackie, I had one quick question. Commitments on jobs, best efforts to recruit, hire Boston residents, spend money in Boston. I just wanted
We've actually increased our commitment to the City of Boston in terms of vendors. So in the commissions, in the license conditions, it called for $15 million a year, and we've increased that to $20 million a year.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it's consistent with all your other surrounding community agreements. We're not over-promising, over-pledging dollars that had been designated for other communities.
No, and you know, it's the same conditions that were in our license agreement. Obviously, Everett has a preference, and the City of Boston falls behind those preferences.
Okay. Thank you.
I did want to give an opportunity to the city to make comments if they wish. Mr. O'Flaherty, do you wish to address?
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and through you to the commission.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Eugene O'Flaherty, Corporation Counsel for the City of Boston. I want to say that it truly is a pleasure for me to be here today in front of this commission. I appreciate all of the hard work that this commission has engaged in since its inception. Clearly, you have been down a difficult road, certainly as much as we have been. I'm here this morning to echo my sister's comments. I agree wholeheartedly with what she has represented to you today, and certainly appreciate the opportunity for the record to say to you that the City of Boston is looking forward to developing a new relationship not only with Wynn but also with the Mass Gaming Commission. And the mayor wanted me, especially this morning, to indicate to you and send to you his goodwill, and also that we look forward to implementing presumptively, with your approval, what you have in front of you today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
I certainly take Mr. O'Flaherty at his word and look forward to a productive working relationship as well.
Great.
Yeah, no, it's a great development from my perspective. We will take the five motions later, but I did want to mention that as was being characterized here by Mr. Bedrosian, this notion of a treaty, this agreement really appears to be one of going forward. It is clear that there's a lot of goodwill to make solutions happen. We believed, I personally believe, that this project could be a catalyst for long-standing problems in the Sullivan Square area. It's not going to be the only venue to solve them, and that by itself requires a lot of cooperation among parties, and it's very positive to see that there's such goodwill and message from the mayor, and I thank you, Mr. O'Flaherty, and thank the mayor on our behalf. I do want to mention that two people not present here that were often also part of the face of some of that hard work and at times part of the language that was out there are not here, one because he's on vacation and the other one because he retired, Commissioner McHugh. So just wanted to mention that. Other questions or comments for our attorneys? Do we need to take each one of the 5 elements and discuss them by themselves?
You should deliberate on the elements,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then when you are ready, you would move the motion as found on page 10 of the
Right.
commission packet.
Yes. Well, it occurs to me that the easiest one is the release of the check with the, let me speak to that as the treasurer. I don't know if it's cashable because it's more than 180 days old.
We'd be happy to reissue
But
it.
I'm
if
I'm
that's-
sure that Wynn will be happy to reissue that. Another one would be to accept or approve the agreement that is before us, this surrounding community agreement and settlement agreement. Any discussion on that, fellow commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I just think reinstating the city of Boston as a surrounding community was probably a first step before we accept the agreement.
That is right. We did not, we de-designated Boston at some point in time from being a surrounding community, and our process does stipulate that Wynn designates them first, and then we agree to their designation. And it's obvious that by their entering into an agreement, Wynn has probably designated them as a surrounding community, and we can accept that. Is there agreement among our commissioners?
Well, before the vote, as a new commissioner and as one who was not here during the course of the licensing process of Wynn Everett, my role in this issue of approving the terms of the settlement is something which our council has addressed itself to, and I would ask either the executive director or council to make a record of the advice which has been received by me and the commission with regard to my role in this process.
So for the record, Commissioner McDonald will be abstaining from the vote on this motion.
Okay. That's good clarification, thank you. So we'll make the motion all together, but we touched on 3 aspects. Is there, the 4th one was relative to,
The amendment to the licensing conditions?
yes, the amendment of the licensing condition, which agreeing to the surrounding community agreement, it effectively does. Any discussion on that front?
No, just a point, I mean, the surrounding community agreements, I think as a body, we've always generally left those to the discretion of our licensees in the impacted community. I'm pleased to see that, the Wynn has stepped up their commitments in a couple areas of the new surrounding community agreement. And again, happy that the city of Boston and Wynn have resolved those issues, made it a little bit more lucrative, but I've always been a little reluctant to kind of impose our position into those surrounding community agreements or host community agreements unless there was something that we deemed was pretty outrageous, and I don't think there is in this case.
Yeah, that's an important point. I think we have a bit of a tradition of deferring to local control, much like the Massachusetts tradition has had when it comes to surrounding community and host community dynamics, and this goes along to that effect.
Other than we do have a responsibility to the entire Commonwealth with all of these projects, and so, a long-term solution is certainly in everybody's best interest. As the commissioner who looked at and studied and presented mitigation, those traffic concerns are extremely serious, and I, as one commissioner, look forward to hard work to come to a solution. And I know that's not easy, but I think it's something that we will be paying attention to on behalf of the Commonwealth, the whole region. And, those were the most comments we received about this project, were those concerns over traffic. So I know there is a long-term working group, but I think it's in everybody's best interest to really work hard to do that sooner rather than later. And I know we will be, as a commission, looking at those efforts, being briefed by staff, and it is important. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
I think it's a good point. I think the resolution of the legal matters is going to hopefully encourage or allow that working groups work to maybe progress at a little faster rate so that long-term solutions can be reached in the city of Boston and neighborhood of Charlestown and the city of Everett, and Wynn can hopefully have some considerable mitigation steps taken before the facility opens and a long-term solution is created and approved and everybody signs off on it.
Well, the next obvious milestone to that effect, these are Section 61 findings, which was mentioned earlier. And we look forward to, I understand that Mass DOT may have just issued their Section 61 draft findings. Is that correct? You know, we obviously have a big role in all of that, and there's the Secretary's certificate had a whole process for that, that of course now continues, and that working group is critical in that as part of that certificate. So we also look forward to that process. Okay, is there is a fifth element that I did want to discuss.
I think that's the
Did we cover all of
designation,
them?
the designation of who signs on behalf of the commission, whether it's
That's-
myself or Catherine. And
Yes.
quite frankly, I'm going to recommend it be General Counsel Blue. It's a
Okay.
legal document. She's General Counsel. I am a lawyer, but she's General Counsel, so I'm comfortable. My recommendation is she signs it.
On that note, I will be very happy to entertain, and when we move to designate General Counsel to be the signatory to this agreement on behalf of the Commission when it comes to this agreement. Other comments on this or any other related matters?
Just a comment about the release. We will be releasing professionally and personally, and I just wanted to state that, for me, that is all about, excuse me, that is all about the greater good, working. The reason for us being appointed was to implement this in the best way possible, and I think a working relationship is the best way to do that, and that's my thought on why I'm willing to release at this point.
Yep. Commissioner, I remember a comment you made on the licensing decision when we took the vote on this matter, and really well to this day, where you believed, and still believe probably, on the goodwill of people. And I think that holds true for today and moves forward. So, okay. I think we're ready for a motion. Actually, before we take that, let me just mention the hard work that goes on by our legal department, our ombudsman, our counsel. You know, it's their job to be doing this on the Wynn side and the city. But what we've done here with all your help, it's a great testament to the work that you do day in and day out. So I personally want to thank you for all of that.
Thank you very much. It was a great privilege working with your terrific in-house legal team here and the others here at the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Okay, so if we're okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Should we take them one by one?
No, you can.
One motion?
You can, it's one motion, you can move to,
Mhm.
move the
Okay.
motion is found on page 10, beginning on page 10 in your packet.
Page 10 in the packet, which is part of subsection 3, A through F in the agenda.
It's basically page, it's the first 3 pages, I think, of that section. And you'll see that the motion is numbered pages 1 through 3. It starts out with vote regarding litigation release and surrounding community agreement.
Page 1?
Yes.
It's in tab 3. Yeah, you got it.
And it summarizes in good detail discussions we've had here on the 5 elements that we've discussed.
That's correct. And since you have an abstention, it may make sense to make the record clear that you do the vote by a roll call vote
Okay,
amongst each commissioner.
okay.
I don't know that it's necessary to read them at length.
You don't need to read it into the record, no, but if you note that it is the motion found on page 10 of the packet, that should suffice.
Okay.
You want to move that,
I'll-
Commissioner?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the agreement found on page 10 of the packet, and really, what we're talking about is a surrounding community agreement, a settlement agreement, a release, request for amendment to license condition, request for execution of release, request for release of the check, and the reinstatement at Boston as a surrounding community.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that it's the vote regarding the litigation release and surrounding community agreement as found on page 10 of the Commissioner's packet. Okay, Commissioner Cameron,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonald,
Abstain.
Commissioner Stebbins,
Aye.
and Commissioner Zuniga votes aye, so the ayes have it 3-1.
No, 3 to 1.
3 and 1 abstention. Yes, not 3-1, 3-0 and 1 abstention.